This is the tutorial video for page 6 notes in the functions unit. So we're going to talk about how to find roots on a graphing calculator. Now, if you don't remember how to factor this, this is how you're going to find the roots. So the first thing you're going to do is type the function. So we're going to type the function into y equals. So the function is the x squared plus 10x plus 16. So what I'm going to do is go into my calculator, go to y equals and clear anything that's in there and type x squared plus 10x. Now when you're using x, make sure that you're using the x below mode. So this becomes x squared plus 10x plus 16. And I'm going to hit graph. So step 2 is to hit graph. It's pretty intuitive that I am graphing this, so I should probably press graph. Now, to continue finding the intercepts, we know that it crosses the x-axis here and here, which means we're actually going to end up with 2 answers. So we're going to write the steps first. So step 3 is you're going to hit second, the trace button, which is calculate basically. It says calc. You're going to select option 2. And option 2 is called 0. So we're finding the 0. You're going to move the cursor to the left, press enter. You're going to move it to the right, press enter. And then you're going to hit enter twice. And then what it's going to tell you is a number with 0. The number is the 0 of the function. All right, so to go back into what we've done so far, zoom out just a little so we can kind of see everything. Okay, let me move my, there we go. Got that ugly glare off of my picture. So what we're going to do, I'm going to kind of start from the beginning. You're going to go to y equals, type the function, and you're going to hit graph, which is up here. Then to calculate, what you're going to do, you're going to press the second button. So let me zoom out just a little so we can see kind of all of the pieces. I'll move it up here to make it a little easier. The second button is located here. You're going to press second and trace where it says calculate. Then you're going to select option number 2. So I'm going to arrow down where it says 0 and you press enter. Then it says, hey, go left bound. So left and then you hit enter. Then you move it to the right and hit enter twice. So what that means, it's going to ask you, hey, I need you to enter the left bound. So what you're going to do is using these arrow keys, you're going to use this one, the left or the right, not the up and the down. Oops, sorry, let me clear out of that. Hold on. Okay, I'm back. So left bound. So what you're doing, what I'm doing currently is I'm currently clicking the left button. I'm trying to find this little cursor. And first thing you have to do is identify the 0 you want. I am just totally messing up today. All right, it's back over there. So I'm going to continue pressing, and I'm pressing the left arrow key. So I'm going to make sure that you can see me pressing it. I'm pressing this one to shift it. Now, when it says left bound, okay, you're going to have to hit it. You can hold it down as well. Think of, let me grab like an expo marker real quick. Hold on 1 second. Sorry, I'm obviously not prepared to teach this lesson. Okay. So what we're going to do is envision the 0 that we're calculating. So we are calculating this 0 location. So what we're basically doing is we're trying to go to the left of it. So you need to kind of envision this vertical line going through the 0. And your cursor just needs to be to the left of the line. So it is, and I'm going to press enter. Notice how it switches to right bound. So now I'm going to press the right arrow until I've crossed over the x-axis and I'm to the right of the 0, and I'm going to press enter. Then, for some random reason, it's like, do you want to guess what the answer is? It's like, no, I don't want to guess. So I press enter again. And it now tells you the 0 is -8, 0. So to find our answer, it crosses the x-axis at -8. So I'm going to zoom out just a little bit, and I'm going to write the 0 up here. We got x equals -8. That is our 0. -8. Now, we're going to do the same thing for the other 0. There are 2 of them, 2 distinct zeros. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to erase this because it's my calculator. I'm going to quit out of it, and I'm basically just going to go into y equals. So when I go into y equals, I'm using the same equation. I'm going to press second trace again. I want to calculate a 0, and I've already done that one. So now it says, okay, left bound. So now I want to focus on this 0 that's located here. I want to focus on this one that's located right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm now going to, again, envision the line that is vertical and goes through that 0. Okay, I'm just going to envision it. Now I'm going to arrow, and I need to go to the left of it. So in this case, when I arrow to the left, I actually have to use the right key. I'm shifting. So now I am to the left of that line that I've drawn. I'm going to press enter. Now it says, hey, go to the right. So I'm going to arrow over until I'm above or to the right of that pretend line. I'm going to press enter. I don't want to guess. That's like the weirdest option. I don't know why it does that. So I'm going to press enter again, and it says, hey, that is at -2. So when we go up to our answer choices up here, our zeros are -8 and -2. So that's how you calculate it on a calculator. If the function was cubic, so for example, I'm just going to do a little side example. If I were to change the power of 2 to 3 and graph it, it's, okay, maybe I should not have, that was a poor example. So let me clear everything out. So let me just graph x to the 3rd plus 2x squared plus x. Maybe that'll work. I'm trying to show it to where, guys, I'm fail-whaling so hard. This is why I should not make problems up. What if this is 5 and this is like 10x? I'm trying to just get you a clear picture. You know what? I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to clear it and go to the graph, and I'm just going to draw one myself. So if the function looks like this, okay, if the function is graphed like that, you're going to do the zeros 3 different times. Okay, so depending on how many times it crosses the x-axis, you're going to have to do the 0 that number of times. I don't know why I just didn't do that firsthand. That would have been a lot easier. All right, so what this means is whenever you are working with the functions and you are finding the roots, okay, it's going to give you the answer like -8, 2. These are called roots. So when it says what are the roots or the zeros, that's what these are. Roots, zeros, they're also called x-intercepts. If it says what are the factors, you can go backwards. So the way we get these answers is by putting them in parentheses and making them equal 0. So this would be like x and x. And the way we get -8 is that inside, this is a +8 and this is a +2. These are the factors. So you can actually use, finding zeros on a calculator in order to actually factor. If you are having trouble factoring, you just have to remember the back step. So to get from here to here, you say x + 8 = 0, and that's how you get -8. So just work backwards by doing the opposite sign. So an example of that would be like this piece here. What is the following factor? Oh, I'm sorry. At this point, to kind of prep you, go ahead and just pause the video and answer these 4 questions in your notes. And once you have, just unpause and continue with the explanations. So number 1 says, which of the following is a factor of this? So what I'm going to do is kind of reference back up here. We're going to graph it and find the zeros and go backwards. Okay, and the way you go backwards is you use the opposite signs. All right, so you can graph it. Now, if these are factors, so I'm going to pull up the graph, and we're just going to graph it, okay? So I'm going to go 2x third minus 5x squared minus 6x plus 9. It should graph, so this is just like the graph I was trying to get. I guess I needed a constant. So we're trying to find which one of these is a factor. Well, we can clearly see the zeros here. It's crossing in between -1 and -2, it's crossing at 1, and it's crossing at 3. Since these are factors and we're trying to find the zeros, if you set these all equal to 0, it's going to tell you which one is actually a factor, because if they're zeros, it should cross on the x-axis. So in this problem, we get x equals -1. Sorry, that was a bad negative. X equals -1. X equals +1. X equals -3. X equals 2. And x equals -6. What these are the zeros. So what I would recommend, instead of trying to factor that, I would just look at the graph and say, okay, where does this cross? Does it cross at -1? No, it does not. Does it cross at +1? Yes, but let's continue to check. Does it cross at -3? Well, -3 is over here. No, it does not. +2? No. -6? No. So I'm using kind of my new data that we just learned how to do in the calculator, so I don't have to factor that. It's a waste of time. So what you want to do is graph the function. It makes it a lot easier, unless you're like, yeah, I would love to factor by grouping that. You don't have to if you don't want to. So factor by grouping is an option, but you don't have to do that. It would be a pain. Number 2, one of the solutions for y squared minus 4y plus 2 equals 0. So they purposely put the 0 on the second line, so I'm going to put a 0 right here and just kind of like cross that out. They purposely did it like that to confuse you. It says one of the solutions is 2 plus the square root of 2. What is the other solution? Do not do the quadratic formula, because you can find the answer just by understanding what the quadratic formula is. The quadratic formula is x equals -b plus or minus the square root, blah, 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 blah. In this problem, this is obviously the quadratic formula. When we factor, we're not like, oh, it multiplies to the square root of 2. So they got this answer by using the quadratic formula. That's how they got that answer. So I don't want to factor, I just want to be smart. So in this problem, the 2 is the -b part. So it's plus or minus. So my first part has to have +2. So that automatically kicks out option A. The square root, when I'm doing quadratic formula, must be identical, because it's the quadratic formula. So this one matches and this one matches. Okay? So I know that B is now out. Notice I'm not getting rid of option E yet. The reason I'm not getting rid of it is because the answer might not be there. However, I know that I should have a plus and a minus version if it's the quadratic formula. Well, this one is already plus, so D cannot be the answer. I need an answer that is working with a negative sign, and that correct answer is option C. So E is also out, but just because the answer choice was found. So this is obviously the quadratic formula. understanding that the quadratic formula is plus and minus will help guide you in the fact that you can find the answer without solving the problem. Like, I did not do the quadratic formula on this. You could if you wanted to, but you don't have to. Again, I'm trying to teach you the shortcuts here. All right, for what value of k will the equation n squared plus 6n plus k equals 0 and have only one distinct real solution? So all of these answer choices that are located here, those are all potential k values. What I would recommend is I would just graph them. Like, honestly, I would not try to do anything else other than graph. So let me go ahead and adjust my camera just a little bit. Guess I'll have to zoom out a little. It's a struggle to fit everything on the camera. All right, so I'm going to graph, and I'm looking for one distinct real solution. So I'm going to do x squared. So you're allowed to change the variable. You need to change it to x in order to graph it. And then for k, I'm going to put 36. And then I'm going to graph. Remember, you want to graph it when it equals 0. So I hit graph. And when I hit graph, that does not cross the x-axis at all. So now I'm going to try B. I'm going to go down here. I'm going to change it to 9, and I'm going to graph it. Notice how that touches at one location, which means it is a distinct solution. If I can test the rest if I really want to, so I'll put 0. Notice how it crosses twice. This is not even on the chart. This crosses twice. This one is going to cross probably twice. Yeah, there's one, and here's the second one. And then if you try -9, that one should also cross twice, 1 and 2. So option B, the +9, that's the only one that is touching at one distinct root. So remember, one distinct real solution means it must touch at one location, which is option B. Okay, next one. For what value of k will the equation yield only one distinct real solution for x? Okay, for x. So in this problem, I just have the answer written down. So let me test it real fast because I wonder if it's a mistype and it should say k. You know, it wouldn't be an applied math worksheet if it didn't have an error on it. Okay, so, let's see, I'm sorry, I really should have just checked this before we did this. I think it's a typo. Yeah, this is a typo. Boop. That should say K. I didn't think I was crazy, but it has happened before. All right, so let's check. This should say K. I'm sorry, that's my fault. So all I'm going to do is plug it in. So I'm going to go to y equals 4x squared minus 12x plus, or I guess in this case, minus 12. Graph just crosses once, crosses twice. Go back in. I'm going to change this to -6. Graph. Again, all you have to do is graph. You don't have to factor it. You don't have to worry. So that crosses twice, so that one's out. I wish there was a faster way to get to the end. So +0 would just be basically leaving it off. Once and twice. Okay, and then I'm going to add 9 to the end. It's just a lot of calculator. You can factor this if you want. Notice how this touches one time. So that is the correct answer. Again, you can try 36 if you just really am dying to try it, but 36 is not the correct answer. 36 does not even graph. So remember, your calculator is a great tool to help you factor if you've forgotten how to do it, and the rest of your assignment is posted on Google Classroom.